Liara hurried through the crowded streets of Kaleth's main marketplace, her long, pale hair brushing against her shoulders. The marketplace was alive with the chatter of merchants, the clanging of metal crates, and the smells of alien spices that burned her nose. Life on Kaleth was never easy, especially for someone like her. Born into a family that had little wealth and even less influence, she had learned early that survival required both wit and caution. She carried a crate of rare crystals on her back, the kind that few aliens could afford. Each step she took was measured, careful to avoid the chaotic surge of aliens rushing past her. Despite her careful movements, a group of local merchants blocked her path. Their eyes were sharp and greedy, scanning for any opportunity to take advantage of someone weaker than themselves. "You owe double for that crate," one of them sneered, a tall alien with green, scaly skin and multiple eyes. "You can't leave until it's paid." Liara's heart raced. She had just enough to cover the crate's original price. Paying double was impossible. I can't," she said, trying to sound calm. "This is all I have." The merchant's eyes narrowed. "Then it stays here. You stay here." He stepped forward, blocking her way with his broad frame. His companions laughed, enjoying the power they held over someone so vulnerable. Before Liara could think of what to do next, a voice rang out. "Hey! Step away from her!" A human voice. Liara turned and saw a man standing behind her, tall and confident, with dark hair and a firm jaw. He was unlike any human she had ever seen. Humans were rare on Kaleth, and most of them kept to themselves. This one, however, seemed fearless. His presence alone commanded attention. "Who are you?" one of the merchants demanded. "This doesn't concern you." Jason stepped closer, his hands raised calmly. "It concerns me now. You want double? Fine, I'll pay it. But you leave her alone." Liara's eyes widened. He didn't even hesitate. Without a word, he pulled out a small device and transferred credits to the merchant's account. The green-scaled alien blinked in surprise and then scowled. "This isn't over!" he hissed. Jason ignored the threat. "Not today," he said. Liara felt her knees weaken. She wanted to thank him, but no words came out. Finally, she managed, "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you." Jason smiled faintly. "Just stay out of trouble and don't let anyone push you around. That's all the repayment I need." Liara watched as he walked away, his long coat flowing behind him. Something about him was different. Most humans she had heard about were brash and reckless, but this one, he seemed calculated, brave, and kind. She didn't know why, but she felt an unusual sense of relief, as if the weight of the world had lifted from her shoulders. Over the next few days, Liara found herself thinking about the human repeatedly. He had saved her from a situation that could have ruined her. She had spent her life learning how to survive alone, but Jason had acted with courage and purpose. She realized she wanted to understand humans better, especially him. Their paths crossed again when she returned to the market to sell more crystals. This time Jason was there not for her but for trading rare minerals from his ship. He noticed her immediately, giving a small nod of recognition. "You're back," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Careful today?" Liara nodded.
"Yes, I
wanted to say thank you again." Jason shrugged. "No need, you handled yourself well too. You didn't panic. Most would have run or cried." Liara felt a strange pride. For the first time, someone recognized her abilities without underestimating her because of her appearance or species. "I try my best," she said quietly. Jason studied her for a moment, then offered a hand. "I could use someone with your skills. I travel a lot, deal with merchants and traders across the system. If you want, you could come with me. Learn some things that might help you survive and maybe even thrive." Liara hesitated. She had never left Kaleth before. The idea of traveling with a human was terrifying, but also thrilling. She could learn skills that might change her life forever. I don't know if I can," she admitted. "I've never been off this planet," Jason smiled. "No one starts as an expert. You learn as you go. You survive, adapt, and grow stronger. That's how humans manage." Something in his words struck Liara. For the first time, she felt a spark of hope. She nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll come with you." The journey began the next morning. Liara followed Jason to his ship, a sleek silver vessel that glimmered under Kaleth's twin suns. The interior was tight but efficient, filled with advanced technology that Liara had never seen before. She touched the controls cautiously, amazed at how smooth and responsive everything was. Jason noticed her curiosity. Take your time. You'll get used to it. As they traveled through space, Jason taught her the basics of navigation, trade negotiation, and survival tactics. He showed her how to analyze situations quickly and make decisions that could save lives. Liara soaked in every lesson, realizing that humans thought differently, more creatively and boldly than most alien species she had encountered. One night, they landed on a small frozen moon to collect rare minerals. The moon was harsh with jagged ice cliffs and howling winds. As they worked, a sudden storm hit. Visibility dropped to nearly zero, and Liara's hands were numb from the cold. Jason grabbed her arm. "Stay close. We need to reach the ship." The storm roared around them. Ice cut their faces and the wind tried to push them off the cliffs. Liara stumbled, fear gripping her heart. But Jason held her steady, guiding her through the chaos with calm determination. Finally, they reached the ship, shivering but safe. Liara looked at him, her chest heaving. You saved me," she whispered. Jason gave a small nod. "I told you. You stick close, survive, and learn. That's how we humans manage." Liara smiled faintly, feeling warmth spread through her despite the cold. She realized that Jason wasn't just brave, he cared. He valued life in a way that many on Kalith did not. As they returned to space, Liara began to feel something unfamiliar, admiration and trust. She had seen humans as unpredictable and sometimes reckless, but Jason was different. He was strong, smart, and unafraid to face danger, and for the first time in her life, she felt she had someone she could rely on completely. Days turned into weeks as they traveled together. Jason continued to teach her and Liara adapted quickly. She learned to repair small ship systems, analyze trade deals, and even handle minor conflicts with alien merchants. Each lesson made her more confident, and each successful mission strengthened the bond between them. Liara began to understand the human way of thinking, a combination of courage, adaptability, and a willingness to take responsibility. She found herself inspired, not just by his actions, but by the way he faced challenges without fear. One evening, as they floated above a glowing nebula, Liara looked at Jason quietly. I've never met anyone like you," she said softly. Jason glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. "And you've never met anyone like a human either, I guess." She laughed softly, the sound almost lost in the hum of the ship's engines. "I guess not, but I feel safer with you than I have my whole life." Jason smiled faintly, turning his gaze back to the stars. "That's what we do. Humans survive. We protect, we adapt, and sometimes we help those who can't help themselves." Liara felt a shiver of anticipation. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time she wasn't afraid. She had a human beside her. Someone who had saved her life, taught her, and shown her a new way of living. And deep down, she knew that her life had changed forever. Liara woke to the soft hum of the ship's engines. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, distant and cold. Yet inside, the warmth of the cabin and the presence of Jason gave her a strange sense of comfort. Their journey through the galaxy had been both exhausting and exhilarating. She had learned so much in the short time since she left Kalith, about humans, about survival, and about herself. "Morning," Jason said, stepping into the cabin with a cup of steaming nutrient drink. "Sleep well?" Liara nodded, her hands wrapped around the warm cup. "I did. The stars, they're beautiful. But sometimes I feel so small out here." Jason smiled faintly. "That's normal. Space has a way of making everyone feel small. But small doesn't mean powerless. You've learned a lot in just a few weeks. You're stronger than you think." She looked at him, unsure whether to trust his words. "I've learned, yes. But I've also seen how dangerous this galaxy is. Even humans, even you, can't stop everything." Jason leaned against the wall, thoughtful. "True, but you can prepare. You can adapt. And when the time comes, you'll act. That's what counts. You don't have to be fearless, just ready." Liara sipped her drink quietly. Jason's confidence was contagious, and she felt herself growing braver with every passing day. She had faced storms, hostile merchants, and alien factions, and survived. Perhaps she was stronger than she had ever imagined. Their next destination was a mining colony on the outer edge of the Helion sector. Rare minerals were abundant there, but the planet was unstable, with constant seismic activity that made mining dangerous. As they approached the planet, Jason explained the plan. "We'll land near the northern cliffs. Minerals are exposed there, and we can collect them quickly. Stay close, follow instructions, and we'll be fine. Liara nodded. She had learned to trust him. His strategies, though sometimes risky, had always worked. She had no doubt that he would guide them safely through the challenges ahead. The ship descended through turbulent clouds, buffeted by strong winds. Liara held onto the railing as the landing gear touched the rocky surface. The ground trembled beneath her feet. Rock shifted and small fissures opened along the cliffs. She shivered, both from the cold and from a sense of anticipation. Careful, Jason warned. Stick to the path and don't get too close to the edges. They began collecting the minerals, scanning the cliffs for the rare crystals Jason had identified. Liara crouched, carefully extracting the glimmering stones while Jason handled the heavier equipment. Hours passed and the storm intensified. The wind howled like a living creature threatening to knock them off balance. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the cliffs. A small section of rock broke free and tumbled toward them. Liara froze, but Jason grabbed her arm and pulled her back just in time. Got you, he shouted over the wind, his grip firm and steady. Don't freeze up. Move with me. Her heart raced. She realized how much she relied on him. Not just for guidance, but for safety. He had saved her countless times already, and she knew he would continue to do so. Together they navigated the treacherous terrain, collecting minerals and avoiding falling debris. By nightfall, they had gathered enough to make the trip worthwhile. Exhausted, they returned to the ship, shaking from the cold and adrenaline. Liara leaned against the door, catching her breath. You did well today, Jason said, handing her a warm blanket. Most would have panicked. You stayed focused. Liara smiled faintly. I had good guidance. Jason's gaze softened. You're learning fast, and you're starting to trust yourself more. That's important. Confidence can save your life out here. They spent the night aboard the ship, the soft hum of engines lulling them into a light sleep. Liara's thoughts, however, were restless. She thought about her life on Calith, the struggles her family faced, and the unexpected twist that had brought her here, following a human across the galaxy. She had expected danger, hardship, and uncertainty, but she had also discovered something extraordinary: companionship, guidance, and the beginnings of trust. The next few weeks were a blur of travel and learning. Jason taught her to repair small ship systems, calibrate navigation instruments, and communicate with alien traders. Liara discovered she had a natural talent for mechanics and problem-solving. Her confidence grew, and with it, a subtle admiration for Jason. One evening, while charting a route through a densely populated asteroid belt, Liara noticed something unusual. A small group of ships moved silently among the asteroids, their trajectories precise and deliberate. Those ships, they're not just mining, she said cautiously. They're organized, possibly a patrol or a private faction. Jason's eyes narrowed. You're right. We need to stay clear. But let's observe for a moment. See what they do. They maneuvered the ship to a safe distance, hidden by the shadows of large asteroids. Liara watched, fascinated, as the ships moved with coordinated precision. Jason explained that some alien factions enforced strict control over resources, often intimidating or eliminating rivals. Their presence here meant potential danger if discovered. Stay calm, Jason said. Most threats can be avoided with patience and observation. Don't make sudden moves. Let them pass first. Liara nodded, following his instructions carefully. Hours passed and the patrol eventually moved on. She felt a rush of relief and pride. Together they had navigated a dangerous situation without confrontation. As they traveled further into uncharted space, their bond deepened. Liara began to notice small details about Jason. The way he observed his surroundings, the calmness in his voice, the quiet determination in his actions. Unlike many aliens she had known, he never underestimated her. He treated her as an equal, a partner, and she trusted him completely. One day, while resting on the ship, Liara felt a sudden wave of unease. Her stomach churned and she realized she was feeling something new, a sign that her life was changing in ways she hadn't expected. She kept it to herself, unsure of how to process the emotions stirring within her. Jason noticed her distraction. Something wrong? He asked, his tone gentle but curious. Liara shook her head. I don't know. I just feel different. Maybe it's the travel, the new experiences. Everything is so new. Jason nodded thoughtfully. Change can be uncomfortable even when it's good. Just remember, you're adapting well. That's why you're still here. learning, surviving. She smiled faintly, appreciating his encouragement, yet she couldn't ignore the quiet realization that something important had begun in her life. A connection not just of trust, but of something more personal. Their next mission took them to a remote water planet, where valuable bioluminescent algae grew in deep underwater caves. These algae were used in advanced medicine and technology across the galaxy. Jason guided Liara through the process of diving and collecting samples safely. Liara marveled at the glowing plants, their colors shifting with the water currents. "They're beautiful," she whispered. Jason nodded. "And valuable. But beauty alone won't keep you alive here. You need to learn to navigate danger even in paradise." As they collected the algae, a sudden tremor shook the cave. Rocks fell and water surged dangerously close. Jason grabbed her, pulling her to safety. Together, they navigated through the perilous underwater terrain, their movements synchronized as if they had done this many times before. After the danger passed, Liara realized how much she relied on Jason, not just for physical protection but for guidance and confidence. She had grown stronger, braver, and more skilled because of him. And she knew her life would never return to what it was on Kalith. That night aboard the ship, Liara stared at the stars and thought about her journey. She had left Kalith as a frightened young alien girl struggling to survive. Now she was learning, adapting, and thriving alongside a human who had changed her life in ways she could hardly describe. Jason approached quietly. "You're doing well," he said. "Not just surviving, but growing. That's rare out here." Liara looked at him, feeling warmth in her chest. I couldn't have done this alone. You've taught me so much." Jason's gaze met hers, steady and sincere. "And you've shown me that aliens are stronger than many humans think. You've learned fast and you've survived every challenge. That's worth more than any training or experience." Liara smiled softly. She realized that their journey had already changed her, not just in skills and knowledge, but in trust, respect, and admiration. She didn't know what the future held, but she felt ready for it, as long as she had Jason by her side. The stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting the promise of new adventures and new challenges. And deep inside, Liara felt a quiet excitement, the knowledge that her life was no longer limited by fear, poverty, or uncertainty. It was a life of possibility, of courage, and of companionship, guided by a human who had shown her a new way to survive and thrive. The next mission took Jason and Liara to a remote planet at the edge of the Altheron cluster. The planet was rugged and rocky, covered in deep canyons and jagged cliffs. Its surface shimmered with minerals that glowed faintly under the dim light of its twin suns. These minerals were highly sought after in the galaxy for advanced energy production. Jason piloted the ship carefully, descending toward a plateau where mineral deposits were most concentrated. Liara studied the terrain through the viewport, noting the dangers of loose rocks and sudden drops. She had learned to anticipate hazards in the last weeks, and her eyes now scanned constantly for threats. "Stay alert," Jason said. "This area is rich, but it's also dangerous. We can't afford mistakes." Liara nodded. She had grown confident in her abilities, but the harshness of this planet still reminded her of how unpredictable the galaxy could be. "I'm ready," she said. They landed smoothly, though the ship's landing gear sank slightly into the soft ground. Jason led the way down the rocky slope, carrying the heavier mining tools while Liara carefully extracted smaller mineral samples. Their movements were precise and coordinated, a silent communication forming between them from shared experience and trust. Hours passed, and the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain. Liara paused to admire the beauty of the landscape. The twin suns left a golden glow on the cliffs, and the minerals sparkled faintly in the twilight. "It's beautiful," she murmured. Jason glanced at her, a small smile on his face. "Dangerous, but beautiful. That's space for you. You learn to appreciate it while you survive," Liara nodded. Her admiration for him had grown deeper over their travels. He was fearless, smart, and always prepared for the unexpected. He had saved her life countless times, but more importantly, he had taught her to trust herself. As night fell, the temperature dropped sharply. The wind howled through the canyons, making even the smallest task more difficult. Liara shivered, wrapping herself tightly in her jacket. Jason noticed. "Here, take this," he said, handing her a portable heat unit. "It won't make it warm as a ship, but it will help." "Thank you," Liara replied softly. His attention to detail, his thoughtfulness, and his care for her well-being made her feel protected in ways she hadn't known before. They continued working, but the calm of the evening was suddenly shattered. A group of heavily armed alien mercenaries emerged from the shadows, their weapons raised. They had been tracking the mineral deposits and saw Jason and Liara as competition. "Drop your tools and come with us," the leader barked, a tall alien with crimson skin and sharp, angular features, "or face the consequences." Jason stepped in front of Liara. "We're not here to fight you, but we won't be taken either. Let's find another way out." The mercenary laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the canyon. "There's no other way. You have what we want. Give it up or we take it by force." Liara's heart raced. She had faced danger before, but this felt different. The mercenaries were skilled and coordinated. One wrong move could be disastrous. Jason's eyes scanned the area. "We can't outrun them on foot, but we can use the terrain to our advantage. Follow me, and stay close." He led her toward a narrow path between two cliffs where the mercenaries' larger ships couldn't follow. Liara followed silently, trusting his judgment completely. Jason's strategy relied on speed, observation, and exploiting weaknesses, skills he had honed from years of experience. The mercenaries fired warning shots, but Jason kept moving. "Keep low and stay quiet," he whispered. Liara crouched, her pulse quickening, but she followed his lead. The wind howled around them, masking their movements. Finally, they reached a cave entrance that Jason had spotted earlier. He pushed Liara inside and quickly secured a narrow path behind them with rocks and debris, slowing the mercenaries' pursuit. Inside the cave, Liara caught her breath. That was close," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Jason placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did well. You stayed calm and followed instructions. That's what matters. Together we can handle this." She looked at him, gratitude and admiration in her eyes. I don't know what I would do without you." Jason smiled faintly. "You'd survive. You're stronger than you realize, but sometimes having someone to watch your back makes all the difference." The cave was small but secure. Jason took out a scanner and mapped the path ahead. "We'll need to navigate through a series of tunnels to reach a safe exit," he explained. "Stay alert. These tunnels can be unstable, but they'll keep us safe from the mercenaries for now." Liara followed closely, using the skills Jason had taught her to move silently and avoid loose rocks. She marveled at how much she had learned, from mechanics and navigation to quick thinking under pressure. Each lesson had made her more capable and more confident in her abilities. As they moved deeper into the cave, Liara began to notice changes in herself. Her body felt different, lighter, yet more aware of every movement and sensation. She realized that their growing closeness had affected her in ways she hadn't anticipated. There was a quiet, unspoken bond forming between them, strengthened by trust, danger, and shared experience. After hours of careful navigation, they finally reached the cave's exit, which opened onto a plateau far from the mercenaries' patrol routes. Jason scanned the area. "We're safe for now, but we need to move quickly and gather the remaining minerals before nightfall." Liara nodded, her resolve firm. She had faced danger and survived. She would continue to face whatever came next, alongside Jason. Together they collected the minerals efficiently, their teamwork seamless. As they returned to the ship, Liara felt a sudden wave of exhaustion combined with a strange, new feeling she couldn't yet understand. She brushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. Back aboard the ship, Liara finally allowed herself to relax. She sat quietly, reflecting on the events of the day. Jason approached her, carrying 2 nutrient drinks. "You're quiet," he observed. "Thinking about something?" Liara nodded slowly. I feel different." "Something has changed." Jason handed her a drink. "It's normal. You've been through a lot. Change can be physical, mental, or emotional. You're learning, adapting. That's what we humans call growth." Liara smiled faintly. "I suppose so. But it feels more than that. I don't know how to explain it." Jason studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Some changes take time to understand. Just pay attention to them and you'll figure it out." Liara took a sip, grateful for his calm reassurance. She realized that she had not only survived dangerous situations, but had also begun to understand herself better. Her confidence had grown, and her admiration for Jason had deepened into something she had never expected. Over the next few days, as they traveled to deliver the minerals, Liara noticed subtle changes in her body and emotions. She experienced moments of quiet reflection, thinking about the bond she shared with Jason. She realized that their connection had become more personal, more meaningful. One evening, while they floated near a glowing nebula, Liara spoke softly. "Jason, I think something is happening to me. I feel different. My body... I'm not sure how to explain it." Jason looked at her carefully, his expression serious but calm. "Different can mean many things, but whatever it is, we'll face it together. You're not alone." Liara felt a wave of relief. She had expected fear or judgment, but Jason's response was steady and reassuring. She realized that no matter what changes lay ahead, she trusted him completely. As they approached a nearby human settlement, they were hailed by the local authorities. A routine inspection turned tense when they noticed the unusual mineral samples aboard the ship. However, Jason's calm negotiation skills and Liara's keen observations helped them explain the legality and purpose of their cargo. Within hours, they were cleared to continue their journey. Liara marveled at how much she had learned from him, not just about survival, but about diplomacy, communication, and courage. She felt a growing sense of pride in herself and gratitude toward Jason. That night, aboard the ship, Liara sat quietly, watching the stars. Her mind wandered to the changes she had been feeling, the subtle signs that her life was about to shift again. She realized that the bond between her and Jason was no longer just about survival. It had become something deeper, something powerful, and something that promised a future she had never imagined. Jason joined her, sitting silently for a moment. "Space has a way of teaching us things we never expect," he said. Liara smiled faintly. "Yes, and some lessons. Some bonds. Change us more than we realize." Jason nodded. "Exactly. And together we'll face whatever comes next." Liara leaned back, feeling a quiet excitement. Her life had changed completely since meeting Jason, from a struggling girl on Kalith to a skilled, confident partner traveling across the stars. And now she sensed that another chapter of their journey was about to begin, one that would test their bond, courage, and trust in ways they had never imagined. For the first time in her life, Liara felt ready to face danger, change, and the unknown, knowing that she would not face it alone. The stars outside the ship stretched endlessly, cold and distant, yet inside the cabin felt warm and safe. Liara moved carefully along the narrow corridor, still adjusting to the sensations she had begun to notice in the past few weeks. Her body felt different and her mind was alert in ways she could not fully explain. The bond with Jason had grown stronger, deeper, and more personal with every shared adventure. Jason looked up from the ship's control panel. "Are you feeling okay?" he asked. His eyes held genuine concern, calm but attentive as always. Liara nodded slowly, her thoughts racing. I think something is happening to me. Something I didn't expect." Jason stepped closer, his presence comforting. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together. You're not alone." Liara smiled faintly, the tension in her shoulders easing. "I trust you. I always have." He gave a small nod, returning his attention to the navigation panel. "Good. We have a long journey ahead and we need to stay alert. There are still challenges in the outer sectors." The following day, the ship approached a small, developing colony on a verdant planet. The colony's settlers relied on trade for survival, and Jason had arranged to deliver the minerals and other supplies they had gathered. Liara watched as the settlement came into view, small buildings scattered across lush green fields, smoke rising gently from chimneys. As they landed, the colony's leaders came aboard to inspect the cargo. Jason spoke calmly and confidently, explaining the purpose of the minerals and the safety measures they had taken. Liara assisted by presenting data she had learned to compile, demonstrating her growing knowledge and skills. The leaders were impressed. "You've done an excellent job," one of them said. "These minerals will help the colony survive the winter and expand their energy grid." Liara felt a quiet pride. Not only had she survived countless dangers, but she had also contributed to something meaningful. The work she had done with Jason had transformed her from a frightened girl on Kalith into a capable and confident partner. After delivering the supplies, Jason and Liara prepared to continue their journey. They had become well-practiced at navigating the complexities of interstellar travel, but danger still lingered in the outer sectors. As they traveled, Liara began to notice changes in her body and mind becoming more pronounced. There was a subtle but undeniable awareness that her life was moving toward something new, something that required trust, courage, and patience. Jason noticed the changes as well. "You seem different," he said quietly during one quiet moment on the ship. "Not in a bad way, just more aware, more alert, more connected to everything around you." Liara hesitated before speaking. "I think I might be pregnant," she admitted, her voice soft. The words felt heavy yet truthful. She had suspected it for some time, and now it was undeniable. Jason's expression remained calm, but his eyes reflected concern and determination. "Then we'll handle it together," he said. "We've faced danger, navigated threats, and survived the galaxy. We can do this too. You won't be alone." Relief and gratitude filled Liara. She had trusted him completely, and now that trust was returning in a tangible form, her body, her emotions, and her connection with Jason had become part of a new journey, one that would shape her life forever. The next mission took them to a remote mining planet threatened by a series of violent storms. The planet was rich in rare elements, but the storms were deadly and unpredictable. Jason and Liara needed to collect samples for a research station that relied on these elements for energy production. Landing was tense. The winds howled, threatening to destabilize the ship. Jason's experience and calm nerves guided them safely to the surface. Liara followed his instructions closely, her body now attuned to his guidance and the surrounding danger. As they collected the minerals, a sudden tremor shook the ground. Liara stumbled, her hand brushing against a jagged rock. Jason caught her instantly, his grip firm and steady. "Careful," he said. "I've got you. Just breathe and move with me." Her pulse raced, but the fear was tempered by the trust she felt in him. Together they navigated the unstable terrain, carefully collecting the minerals and avoiding the crumbling cliffs. By the time they returned to the ship, night had fallen. Liara's exhaustion was profound, but so was her sense of accomplishment. She had survived another challenge, relied on Jason, and proven to herself how capable she had become. A few days later, while traveling through a sector known for its asteroid fields, they encountered an unexpected threat, a band of rogue traders attempting to seize their cargo. Jason's eyes narrowed as he maneuvered the ship skillfully through the field of spinning rocks. "Stay focused," he called to Liara. "Follow my lead and we'll avoid them." Liara adjusted her position, her hands steady despite the turbulence. She had learned to anticipate danger, to think ahead, and to act decisively. Together they dodged the rogue traders' attempts to disable the ship. Jason's tactical skills combined with Liara's adaptability allowed them to escape without injury or loss. Once they were safe, Jason glanced at her. "You did well," he said. "Every day you're becoming stronger, faster, smarter. You've adapted to situations most couldn't handle." Liara smiled faintly, feeling both pride and affection. "I've had a good teacher," she replied softly. Jason looked at her, a quiet intensity in his eyes. "And I've had a capable partner, someone I can trust completely." As they approached a quieter system, Liara's thoughts turned inward. Her pregnancy had progressed subtly, and she felt a profound awareness of the new life growing within her. It was a bond unlike anything she had experienced before, a connection to Jason, to herself, and to the future. She shared her feelings with him one evening, while watching a nebula glow across the viewport. Jason listened intently. "This is a new challenge," he said. "But challenges are not to be feared. They are opportunities to protect, to guide, to nurture. We will face this together." Liara felt a warmth in her chest. She had trusted him through storms, mercenaries, and treacherous planets. Now she would trust him in a way that was even more personal, more profound. Weeks passed as they traveled to a human-colonized planet where Liara could receive guidance and support during her pregnancy. The colony was welcoming, and the local medical teams assisted with gentle care and advice. Liara adapted quickly, applying her observational skills and learned knowledge to maintain her health and the well-being of her child. Jason never left her side. He helped with every task, from managing supplies to navigating the complex systems of the colony. Together, they were a team, stronger, more capable, and deeply connected. One quiet evening, Liara looked at Jason, her hands resting on her abdomen. "I never imagined my life would be like this," she said softly. Jason took her hands in his. "Neither did I," he replied. "But I wouldn't change a moment. You, our child, this journey. It's all part of something bigger. We've survived, we've grown, and now we create something new together." Liara felt tears in her eyes. For the first time in her life, she felt completely safe, valued, and connected. The trust she had placed in Jason had blossomed into a bond that transcended species, danger, and distance. As months passed, Liara's strength and confidence grew. She had faced storms, mercenaries, treacherous planets, and rogue traders, yet she had survived every challenge. With Jason beside her, she realized that the galaxy, vast and unpredictable, was not something to fear. It was something to explore, to protect, and to embrace. One evening, as the twin suns set over the horizon, casting a golden glow across the colony, Liara felt a new sense of purpose. She was no longer just a girl from Calith struggling to survive. She was a capable, brave partner carrying the future within her. Jason stood beside her, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "We've come far," he said quietly. "And we have far to go, but whatever the future holds, we face it together." Liara smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "Together," she agreed. The stars above sparkled in silent promise, reflecting a galaxy filled with possibility. Liara and Jason had survived danger, forged unbreakable trust, and discovered a bond that transcended fear. And now, as they looked to the future, they knew that together they could face anything: challenges, adventures, and the beautiful unknown. Liara's heart swelled with hope. She carried life within her, a new beginning, and the knowledge that she and Jason were no longer merely travelers in the galaxy. They were a family united by courage, trust, and love, ready to shape a future brighter than either had ever imagined. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Liara felt certain of one truth. Her life, once fragile and uncertain, had transformed into something extraordinary. The human who had saved her, guided her, and stood beside her had given her more than safety and knowledge. He had given her a life filled with possibility, hope, and a bond that would endure across the stars.